Hi everyone, welcome to the THP Cabal meeting. It is Wednesday, 28th of January, 2026. Thanks for joining. I don't have a huge amount this week. I have been mostly working on things other than THP the last couple of weeks. I have a series I haven't sent out yet because I think we're just about to hit the merge window, so it's a bit wrong time to send it out. But I've now got rid of page mapped the predicate. We were almost rid of it completely. Just a couple of places that were straggling, and I've fixed those up so they now call folio mapped instead. So I'll send that patch out after the merge window is closed, so 3 weeks from now. Um, Beyond that, I've been working on some X-ray stuff and some IOMAP stuff. Nothing particularly relevant to this meeting. So, all right. Dave Howells, would you like to tell us what you've been up to?
I haven't done a lot as yet. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I haven't done a lot as yet, but I've just with a discussion with Paolo Alcantara, who's doing sort of SIFSCOM internship. I've realised there's probably a way to significantly simplify what NetFSLib does, because currently for each operation it submits, it makes a prepare call and issue call. I think there's a way to get rid of that. What that would then allow me to do is do bulk. So the write back ITER call is actually do a bulk write back ITER call and say, give me a page vex worth, or whatever the folio equivalent's called,
Yeah.
at a time, which I think might actually improve performance, possibly, but certainly getting rid of half these calls and simplifying it down will improve things. I'm wondering also if I can get rid of folio queue entirely and replace it with my new BVEC queue, which is basically just a segmented list of BVEC array. The problem is I have to get back from the data pointer to the page to be able to clean up the page bits and the page flags at the end of reads and writes. So I'm not sure that makes sense. At the moment, because it's a struct page in pointer in the BioVec, doesn't matter. But if your grand plans come to fruition and it's just a memory address and size in there, and the page pointers or the page structs are held in a maple tree, that could be a significant problem.
Well, there's always going to be a fizz to page call, or at least fizz to memdesk.
Yeah, but it will be somewhat more expensive because it will require doing a tree search. I don't know whether it's sufficiently more expensive to be a problem. On the other hand, I can do a bulk extraction potentially, because I have I can say I've got a whole range of pages. Can you look them all up for me, please? So I
Yeah.
don't know whether that would actually improve matters much, because they might not be cut adjacent. They may not be located adjacently. So bulk lookups might not actually help that much.
I mean, they're logically adjacent,
Yeah.
right?
Well, only in the sense that they are in the page cache.
Yes, that's what I mean. They're in file logical. They're consecutive logical bytes of
But so
like
I have two ways to get these. One is from the physical address in the tree, so in
yeah.
my list of biovecs, and the other is by looking them up through the page cache, the I know page cache. The problem is there's a possibility I don't know how likely it is that someone has replaced the pointer to the page.
No,
So, so
not while not while the right back bit is set.
okay, in which case I should be able to go, because then bulk lookup makes a lot more sense going through iPages rather than going from the physical address of the page back, which is what I was thinking I'd end up doing. But though I did find it to be faster to go from the folio queue than to look up each page individually, which is what I was doing.
Right. I mean, it's kind of assuming a lot to think that we'll necessarily go uh, uh, to getting rid of struct page entirely.
Oh, I don't think we'll get rid of it. I think we still need it. But I'm thinking we might not have just a static array of them. We might allocate them as needed and stick them in an array. I don't know. But if I can get a function in the page cache, so in the memory stuff, where I say, here's an inode, here's a file range, please can't clear up right back on all those pages or unlock all those pages or as unlock and mark up to date all those pages or cancel right back on those pages. That would probably make a lot of sense to bulk, because I can say here's 256 mega pages and walking, I presume that will be fast to clear them, just walking the X-ray linearly from the start point.
There's certainly some optimizations we can do and probably should do. I'm not trying to argue that we shouldn't do this. I think this is something that actually XFS would benefit from as well. There's code in XFS say, oh, this is going to take us a long time. We'll punt from interrupt context to a work queue to clear all the write back bits. We do have to go and touch each folio to clear its write back bit. So that's not going to be particularly helped. But
I have to do that anyway, so.
yeah, well, somebody has to do that.
But there's also all the marks on the
The,
X-ray.
yeah, the X-ray search marks. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that could be done in bulk, and I think that is a definitely worthwhile thing to look at.
Because if I can do that, I don't actually need a folio queue necessarily.
Oh,
It
fantastic.
makes
Yeah,
certain things easier because I can use it to store things like the page size. It was
right.
a whole bunch of page sizes and some extra flags. I probably don't need those. If I can get to the folio struct, I can certainly find the page size more easily these days. It's when it was it's stored in an adjacent page somewhere that it was quite slow.
Mm.
And I can store my own bit. I don't really need the bits. The bits were mostly say whether I needed to put the page or not, and that's more how I got to this point type thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of file systems have this sort of boilerplate code like on write completion, walk every folio in the bio and clear its write back bit and blah blah blah. And it's like, well, yeah, we could probably just take that boilerplate out of the file systems. Um,
Would you object to if I just put a function in there that all it does is you say inode start size and it just walks each page in that array and goes clear, 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 clear. To be
yeah, I think that's the obvious thing to do. Yeah.
it can be bulked later.
Well, yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, we don't have to do the bulking straight away.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you about is the thing with Christoph, the where he's using page to folio conversion, but it may not be a folio he's looking at these days. It can be one of a number of things. The obvious one that occurs to me is it could be a receive buffer. So it could be memory map receive buffer from the TCP stack.
Right.
It could
So
be someone could have
what goes wrong? I appreciate theoretically it's wrong, but in practical terms, what's wrong? Do they not have a map count?
no, they don't have a map count.
Okay.
At least I don't know actually. It does not have the full set of fields that Structfolio does.
Yeah.
But obviously it must have enough that you can do page pinning on it.
Must it? I guess.
How can you call them get thingy what's it? Oh, I
Get
can't
user
remember.
page.
Get user page on it if you can't pin it because that pins it. Not, I don't know. That code always looks like black magic to me.
Well, the networking stack looks like black magic to me, so I think we're in a complementary position. Um, so I guess that's the first thing to figure out is if somebody has done a VM splice of this page to a socket, like how are we
Well,
using the fields
what
instruct page when somebody calls a get user page on it?
yeah. It's like the code is not entirely clear.
Right. Maybe the right thing to do is write a test program that exercises this, and then we can trace the test program and figure out what's actually going on.
Yeah, I think I have some code somewhere that will actually do that. I don't.
If you could share that code, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know how to do mapped TCP sockets. I've found some examples on that, but they're not particularly easy to follow. Probably what I need to do is go and talk to Mina Alsri, or whatever his name is.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just a concern that at some point page to folio will cease to return something that he can actually do what he wants to do with.
Right, right. So I did reply to that email. Maybe you missed that
In
reply.
my direction. I don't know if it
uh,
is.
but the eventual situation is that page to folio will return null for things that aren't a folio. So we'll get a good crash rather than just like, oh, you dereferenced a random pointer to
It's
something.
just that I also wanted Christoph to think about how to handle it now,
Yeah,
since he's looking at the code.
yeah.
That's what I've got.
Cool. Thank you. All right. Lorenzo?
Yep, not much THP stuff. I did have something I wanted to talk to you about. Um, other than, I mean, I guess on the THP side, I still need to review parts of Nico's series. There was one thing that needed to be addressed, which was um, potential VMA pointer use after free, which we don't want. It's probably not a good idea. Um, I added one. I added one in mremap, so we don't need it anymore. Um, but he's sent a fixed batch for that. I'll have a look at that just to confirm that's okay. The thing I wanted to ask about was Folio Make Clean. So when we did that change, or when I did that change for DRM to stop them using page index mapping, I gave them a function to be able to do this write protect of page tables for the stuff they're doing, right? And at that point, the only user of Folio Made Clean was bcachefs, and
Right.
there was no way, there's no way I was going to deal with that. And now, since then, ext4 and NFS are using it. Um, I chatted to the maintainer of NFS about his use because it looked a lot like basically he's copy pasted a function that deals with the block size that's less. Actually, he said there's no block size in NFS. It's byte level. But the general idea is there's this function that if you have a block size less than page size, the range might span. some folios that don't necessarily get zeroed when they should get zeroed, and so you need to do some magic to clean it up. And that he's basically copy pasted this and made some slight adjustments, and part of that does folio make clean and the mark dirty dance. And the EXT4 is just doing the folio make clean thing, and I forget what situation it was in. So I don't know whether we could actually. What I'd like to do, and this is in no way. I just want to make this clear. I was being recorded. It's in no way about making this break and Bcash FS out of spite. It's not. It's not about that. I wouldn't do that. That would be petty, and I'm not petty. But it also is an internal implementation detail. Would you agree with that? That we shouldn't be exporting?
I would very much like us to not be exporting folio make clean.
Yeah. So at the very least, we could export a function that does folio if folio make clean, folio mark dirty. That'd be like the minimal thing. But that's still exposing that functionality. I'd kind of rather not do that. So maybe I can point you at the discussion actually after the call, and you can tell me what you think. But maybe there's a way of splitting out that function that he's copy pasted, so he could actually use that and not do this kind of horrifying. I mean, I can see why he's done it from what he said. But it's obviously a bit horrifying to do a copy paste, make small adjustments. That pattern is horrible, and that's just straight away that's a problem because we change it, you don't change it, now you've got the bug, or whatever. So maybe I can point you out that you can give me your thoughts on that. But that's the thing I just like to do, just because that's like a leftover thing from that change. So yeah, I guess I'll ping you about that. But
Great,
other than
thanks.
that, yes.
Yeah, so folio make clean, I agree with you. I'd like to get rid of it. It's a real it's something a file system person can really screw up if they get it wrong. And
Yeah,
we have too many of those already.
yeah,
And I would like to remove this one as something that file system people have to know about. So yeah, if we can figure out what our high level API should be, I think that would be
yeah.
great. And heck, even Bcachefs can use it if we.
Yeah. I think in
uh,
practice, that you get to use it. It wouldn't actually screw anything up. He would just have to make a change and probably wouldn't
yeah,
mind. Um, yeah, and I think as well the fact that both those file systems, guys working on it, the kind of the very next moment after we took out one usage, they pulled it in. I think sometimes people couldn't see the available exported functions as like a candy store of stuff they can use, and we should really just deal with it by giving them less candy. Some of it might make them feel sick. Stretching the analogy a bit, but
yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to put salmiakki into this analogy, but perhaps I will skip that. So the other thing I wanted to comment on is it is a persistent illusion amongst networking people that network file systems don't have block sizes, and it's true when you look at the protocol. Oh yeah, we just send some number of bytes. It's like, yeah, but okay, so if I send you 37 bytes, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to do a read, modify, write on the file on the block device that's actually backing this file system. So there is an underlying block size. It's just not being exposed.
yeah,
Now, obviously, when somebody does a 37 byte write, somebody's got to do a read, modify, write. But in Linux, it's always the page cache on the host on the client, right? So the client has done probably a 4 kilobyte read, modify, write. They have the 4 kilobytes, but they're only going to send the 37 bytes that's changed, maybe.
We
But for
don't
efficiency,
necessarily have the full page. We try and avoid downloading the full page if we can avoid it.
for some workloads, yes.
If we have an uncommitted page and we do a non-existent page, we do a partial write to that page. We just store the partial write. Don't mark the page up. Mark the page dirty, but not up to date, and then only write those bytes back. We don't want to do a read and then a write RPC.
the one thing on it, he changed this function. The function was did the zeroing of the partial folios, and he was doing if dirty, then do that, because if it's still dirty, that means it's not being write back, and we still need to change it because write back does the zeroing of those ranges itself. But he changed the code to be if it's up to date. Yeah, he was using the up to date flag, and it's like what? But I can't remember the exact argument he made, but it seems it means something different, or it means more. That seems relevant to what you were saying, David. It means something different with the network file system.
It's if the page is not up to date, but it is not dirty, then it's got some data in it that needs writing
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
And you normally have to look at page private or folio private for
Would
find out.
it would ordinarily mean you need to read some back from disk? I'm not a file system guy. Doesn't it ordinarily mean you have some data you need to read back from disk?
Well, if someone decides to
It's
read
not
that
up to date.
page, what we normally do is write it back and then we'll flush the dirty bit and then read the whole thing back.
Yeah, yeah.
And the problem
So a lot of people get this confused, but the way to think about it is that the dirty bit means that at least one byte in the page cache is newer than one byte on disk. And the up-to-date bit means that the page cache has that every byte in the folio is at least as new as everything on
Yeah.
disk. Right, so it's at least one versus every single one.
except that
We
that's
should,
not fully true in network file systems, sadly.
yeah, this is the
Because,
thing.
Well,
because you have third party clients that can change the stuff while you think you've got your own copy of it.
yes, in the absence of leases slash oplocks slash whatever the file systems called them, yes. Third party invalidation. NFS is not cache coherent, right? Until you get to NFS 4.
And even then, it's mostly cache coherent. There is
Yeah.
a problem in the where the standard is worded.
Oops.
All it says is if the change attribute changes, but it doesn't say how it changes. So it could change one way and then change back. And by the letter of the standard, it's now different. But in practical terms, you can't tell.
You're saying it goes from 0 to 1 back to 0. It's changed, but you can't tell that it's changed because it's still 0. It's changed twice.
It's
Yeah.
changed, yeah.
So they didn't define that it was an integer that needed to be incremented every time. They just said change it.
Yeah, it just said it had to change with each write. Now, fortunately, as far as I know, all implementations have it increment, or at least increase.
But do they increment it as a as an LE32 or as a BE32?
It's a 64-bit thing.
Nevertheless, if somebody's incrementing it at the top and somebody else is incrementing at the bottom,
Well,
and
it goes at B64 of the wire.
okay.
But yeah, it's
But anyway, so my point is that if you do a write that is not of the block size of the underlying storage, somebody needs to read modify write, and
it will be put up to the server.
well, just because you can't see the cost of it doesn't mean that
Even if we say the server says it's 4K, we get a 4K page and we write a 4K page back, doesn't mean the block device is actually 4K.
no. I think NFS would be a better protocol if it did expose the underlying block size. But
And also, if you've got an NFS thing that spans multiple devices, it may have different block devices depending which inode and which block you're looking at. That way lies madness, unfortunately.
yes.
Even
Yeah.
just looking at a block-mounted block file system on Linux, what it says in the iBlick size, is it, isn't necessarily anything to do with the blocks the data's actually stored in, if you like RAID or something.
Yeah, but I mean, we've handled all this stuff, right? Like we know what we're doing with RAID. We've done RAID for 20 plus years, and
Yeah.
we understand how to do, or indeed to avoid doing, many of these
Yeah.
things.
My point is you can't capture it necessarily with one number. Anyway,
Well,
yeah,
we
interesting.
do. All right. Um, let's see. Okay, so Lorenzo, you mentioned Nico. Let's go to Nico next.
Hello. Um, like Lorenzo said, I posted my V14 of the MTHP KHPHD patches. It introduced a nice little error there, which I fixed up. Other than that, not much THP related. Actually, FIO. I've been trying to add a feature to FIO for the last like 3 days. Basically improving anonymous support. The idea here is to have like a page fault IO engine that will cause page faults on the mapping in the same patterns that FIO would on file backed. Additionally, on top of that, I added a slight feature for KHPHD, which is to provide an M advised at some delay. And the point of that would be to cause some KHPHD, a storm of KHPHD candidates through M-Advise huge page. And I guess we could potentially do M-Advise collapse there as well. Yeah.
Well, I'm not quite clear. So is this, what's the point of this FIO change you're trying to make to chest swap,
So
or?
no, FIO currently only really does file operations. Even if you do like the private anonymous backing, um, it really doesn't cause page faults. It just drives through file operations. Um, so the point is to have all the same features for file operations on a page fault level. So I could, allocate certain regions of memory and fault them in at certain patterns and so on.
Okay, I guess it now. Okay, thanks.
So then in that case, you would be able to leverage any like FIO script, change the engine, that like any performance testing framework, anything like that. You would just be able to plug and play like anonymous testing. And then the other KHPHD stuff is more for testing my own work, but it could also be leveraged for testing.
Thanks. All right. Liam?
So I don't have much, but I have one thing that kind of came up. It's not directly related. Well, it kind of is, but it's not directly related to THP, I guess. It's huge TLB. I When changes in code around huge TLB are happening, people tend to not want to update huge TLB, and I'm thinking if we allow that to happen continuously, we'll end up in a situation where huge TLB is worse than it is now. Um, and I was wondering what people thought if we should be maintaining that code or changing it when things that we do are related, but not directly changing the huge TLB.
It seems a bit vague.
Yeah, I kind of want it
What
to be. So
are
so
you saying we are you volunteering to be maintainer? You still be sort of
I'm
come out and say it.
absolutely not. No, but the problem is huge DLB is not self-contained, right? So we have files where there's if huge TLB jump into huge TLB,
Yeah,
otherwise continue. And then the continue code and
yeah.
the huge TLB code is almost identical. So if we go off and change one implementation without
Right.
unifying the implementations, then we're going to be in this situation where we have two implementations, one of which is now getting worse and more specific. And I'm just wondering at what point will it become more bug prone to do that versus actually keep it up to date?
I mean, firstly, I'd say if we have code that could be shared between THP and huge TLB, the first step that has to be taken with THP is a rework because the code is terrible, really terrible, and it needs it very badly. I think actually, David's ex-colleague um, was going to look at that and has done some initial work that I've not looked at too closely, but I think the work is starting. Yeah, Louis, I can't pronounce it probably Louise. Whatever, I shouldn't have tried. But he, when we have more of that done, then perhaps as part of that, we could perhaps direct him to try and find ways of sharing this code. But I think that's a necessary prerequisite because if we try and do it now with two flaming trash piles and then we have a shared flaming trash pile, that's still not good. We need to.
Yeah, I mean, I also see it in some of the code that Mike's doing, Mike Rappaport, where the huge TLB code isn't the same as the THP, but it's similar to shared memories implementation, and we've gone ahead and made a
Oh,
duplicate.
God, it's like SHM, you mean?
Yeah, and
Oh,
yeah.
that's really. I was happier not knowing that. But maybe there needs to be three-way sharing here then, because SHM is that is the real sort of unwanted stepchild in the
It's
attic.
fine. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
You
So
don't want
so
to
anyways,
listen
there's there there there's similarities between a lot of this stuff, and I'm concerned with having this policy of not updating huge TLB. We're going to end up in a situation where um it's even worse. And I just wanted to know if other people thought that the same sort of thing. And it does sound like you're in the same mindset that we need to try and unite what we can when we can. Does anyone have any other comments on
I,
that?
I mean, this has been a theme of LSFMM for the last 15 years. So, I mean, I don't think you're saying anything particularly new here, or controversial for that matter.
Oh, okay. When I submitted some stuff, like it came back like I thought we weren't going to be changing huge TLBFS, and I thought like
Who
that's
who who said that? Who
Peter.
said that? It's Zoo.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
I don't know. I've never heard that before. We're not allowed to change it. So, and now you clarify that. Yeah, we can change it.
okay, all right, cool. That's all
Actually,
I have.
I forget the name of the guy. I'm so bad. Maybe Nico will remind me. There's the guy who actually really nice guy about other stuff, but he obviously he's so nice. I can't remember his name. He was working as co-maintainer of Huge Shelby. Was working to refactor it, and maybe he'd be worth chatting to about it. Maybe when I when I remember the name, I'll ping you. But,
Sounds good.
Oscar, no, yeah, Oscar. It's Oscar. There we go. Comes out of my mind eventually. Yeah, it was a red hat, I think. Yeah. Um. So yeah, it may be worth pinging him about that and about the sharing of the code, and I'll mention it to David.
Cool. Thanks.
All right, that's it then. All right. Then let's see. Derek.
Oh, let's see. I let myself get distracted by what Lorenzo was saying and started looking at Folio MK Clean, and I saw looks like EXD4 and parts of NFS are using it to basically deal with EOF blocks during F allocate operations, specifically zero range and punch range. And I thought, well, that's interesting because the way that XFS handles that is to flush the whole region and unmap all of it, thereby forcing a trip through page MK right. And I guess the difference with what EXT4 and NFS are doing is they're trying to keep the folio and just do magic stuff, whatever MK clean does, and or whatever or whatever it calls folio dirty if MK clean returns true, which I didn't go that far in, but I thought, well, so I was mostly that I might speak up and say XFS just blows out that part of the page cache if you want to do crazy stuff like F allocate, and that's just the way it's been for years.
I wonder, I
And I
wonder
don't
whether
know.
they might. Sorry. I wonder whether they might be a bit resistant to doing something heavy there. If you say no, you should be doing this, and they might say no, we like doing it this magic way. And
Mhm. So yeah, like I don't know, like I guess you could write some kind of actually exported page cache primitive thing that says get force this page back through MK write, and it will do whatever magic, even if it's just the same lock MK clean dirty unlock thing, but just hidden under the covers to say that this is what you do to trigger MK write on a folio. Because
thanks. Yeah.
I think that's what it's doing, at least for the F allocate paths through NFS and EXT4. There was the other weird one that was like in right NFS4 right begin that I looked at that and just kind of ran away screaming. So
Yeah.
I don't know what that one does.
I'm trying to understand exactly what it is that they are getting a benefit from here, right? Because it seems to me that they're trying to optimize for the case where we call hole punch on a file which is M mapped, and we're actually and we're doing shared dirtying to it.
If it was an
I
XFS test failure, I think that triggered the change in the first place.
Well,
like
I'm
I
thinking
have
that
this. I mean, maybe
what
we
Exodus is doing is a big hammer, right? And they're trying to
yes.
use a really tiny hammer, and I'm trying to understand what the benefits are of using the tiny hammer rather than getting out the sledgehammer.
So we should probably just go harass Ted about this tomorrow. But I think the reason why EXT4 does that is that someone complained that they had this application program that wants to make sure that an extending right of a file never returns Eno space, so they make a whole bunch of tiny zero range calls first. And that is what triggers that. But then they're annoyed that they're annoyed that XFS will blow the page out of the page cache and reload it, whereas EXT4 will not do that because it tries to preserve the page cache. And honestly, I think that is actually a much better approach than what XFS does, but also then you end up going through this whole rigmarole with the page cache versus just saying, write it if it's dirty and get rid of it, and we'll reload it if anyone really cares later. And conversely, there have been occasional complaints from people who try that on XFS and discover the performance is terrible.
Well, if we put a decent performing implementation in the page cache, then XFS can switch to it, and those annoying people will go away. So okay, I mean, if this is something that real users might actually want to do, then sure, we can look at doing this.
I mean, I've kind of thought, or we could just figure out which fallocate command that is, and just have it figure out like if you're not even crossing a page boundary, then maybe we'll just zero that part of the page.
Yeah. Yeah, if that's what the use case turns out to be, then sure.
I mean, yeah, this is one of those like annoying marginal stupid cases where it's like, well, if you're really just extending the file by 37 bytes at a time, you might as well just use write.
Yeah.
So, in the grand XFS tradition, you're holding it wrong. Let's see. Other than that, let's see. Catherine is departing Oracle in the kernel community on Friday, so the file system buffer cache project is dead. Sorry, not dead. It's on indefinite hold on a shelf in my office. Let's see, and I'm about to start poking around with the Fuse IOMAP stuff again for 7.1. Joanne said that she would help me go review that if I helped her go review all of her giant queue of Fuse patches. So that's what we're going to be doing next week, assuming I don't get sucked into big stupid review project, which I'll rant to Matthew about that later. So let's see. I think that's about it. I'll let everyone know as I find more weird, crazy stuff in Fuse. Oh yeah. Also, Miklos told me that he was kind of thinking of that maybe it's time to split Fuse because there's too many I/O paths through Fuse and the code has become impossible to understand. Which he's right, it is impossible to understand. But I don't know if that's actually going to happen or not. But it would be kind of nice to be able to clean things out because frankly, I can't understand how Fuse works anymore because there's like the right back. There's like directly write everything to Fuse and don't use the page cache. There's use the page cache and kind of write things. There's IOMAP, then there's a DAX path, which also does really wild things. And also pass through. And it's not really clear how all of these things are supposed to mesh together. Like, I think they're not. But rather than just have a bunch of, 4 or 5 different file operations for the 4 or 5 IO paths, we instead have one mega function that says, oh, if this state is set, then call this other thing. So maybe Zab is correct that I should just ditch Fuse and go write a new one. So yeah, anyway, that's I think all I have for this week.
All right. Thanks, Eric. Bill, do you have anything for us?
No, nothing this week.
All righty. Chris?
Oh, I have to pass. I'm not in a place I can talk, so pass this
All
week.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Zian?
Yes, I'm currently looking at the folio changes and the common page changes. So based on the discussion with Jason about their like device private page, I found out in the prep compound page we actually use folio like setting up all the folio MMID all those when we're doing a compound page, which does not make sense because that is that's when you get a folio, you're setting those fields, but it's not a compound page field. So I'm just did some experiment moving that out and move that attribute to the page or mappable folio that function, since that's when actually a page becomes a folio. But then begin to hit kinds of like that page state because when we free this kind of folio compound pages, then mix them also together since when we check like those fields, we don't check if the folio is large or mappable. We just check, okay, since when we do the perfect comp page, it already set those fields. So when we free, we never distinguish between the compound page and the like large or mappable folio. So this, I think it's not a simple code move. There will be more code changes. I'm still working through that.
Oh, thank you so much for taking that on. That's yes. That's something we were taking some shortcuts on, and yeah, you're you are fixing our technical debt. Thank you.
Yeah, just like yeah, since it wasn't a problem until I have had a discussion with Jason, and since they're just since the folio has so many fields changed, and the perp comp has a loop, look through all the tail pages. Why not just set those folio fields at the same time? But that doesn't sound right. So yeah, I will
Yeah.
keep working until I get something, or I will ask the questions how to deal with all kinds of mess there. Yeah.
You're right. That's messy. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
That's
appreciate
it.
what you're doing.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. I think that's everything. Well, everyone's had a turn. Anything people want to bring up? All right. Doing
I'll
nothing?
be at
Oh,
Fos.
yeah, go ahead.
Didn't hit on. I'll be at Fosdem this weekend if anyone else is crazy enough to go. But what's that?
Well, enjoy yourself. It's a hell of an experience, Fosdem.
I'm mostly thinking about the Belgian beer and the chocolates, and maybe the waffles, and then maybe the conference after that.
There's lots of food trucks on site, or there were last year.
Oh.
So, oh yeah, plenty of opportunities to sample the best that Brussels has to offer in food.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, everyone, and talk to you in 2 weeks.